In this video, we'll look at the latest Bitcoin and crypto on-chain data from David Puel. He's the lead researcher over at ARK Invest. We're going to look at what the on-chain data is telling us as to where we are in this cycle. There's so many buy signals flashing right here, but we also have to relate that to the real world and what's happening in the macro right now. So I'm going to go through some of that in this video, and I'll leave timestamps for everything down in the description. Firstly, though, in terms of Bitcoin, what we're seeing here is probably just a consolidation trade into the inflation figure that's coming out on December 12th. This is going to really tell us where the price is going to go over the next few months. It's very, very important that inflation is coming down more than expected. The reason for this is that the higher inflation stays, it just means the Fed is going to be higher with interest rates for a longer period. The longer they have high interest rates, the absolutely worse that the recession is going to be. And so really what we want to see here with inflation is that it's coming down faster than expected, because that just means the Fed can flip faster than expected. They are going to do it at some point. The faster that comes, the better, and the bottom can be called. But for right now, inflation is way too high still. And so if this comes in at or above expectations, I can't see anything but extreme pain for Bitcoin, even though all of the on-chain data is telling us that we are at kind of cycle bottoms, and it's definitely the right time to buy. You have to compare both the macro and what's going on chain. If you are a trader, get up to $8,000 as a deposit bonus on BitGet. And if you're an investor, they're doing zero commission spot trades right now, so you can buy Bitcoin and crypto and then take it out to your wallet. Link in description for those bonuses. The on-chain data, though, is showing us huge buy signals. Now, it can't time the market, but it's good to look at where we are in this cycle versus others. What you can see here from the realized profit loss ratio is that we're at an all-time low. So for right now, this is actually showing a bigger buy zone than at any time in history. So you can see the previous kind of very, very macro bottoms of previous cycles. Even down here, you can see that this has essentially shown the bottom of every cycle. Now, what you can also see from these is that it's not actually a kind of one-time thing. You can see that a bottoming process occurred here with actually 2 dips. You can see a bottoming process here with 4 or 5 dips. And so we've actually kind of capitulated into this area here. It doesn't mean we're going to capitulate and then just come straight out of it. This could be a 6 or even 12-month process, right? And so with the macro being so uncertain right now, and for the most part, we have to assume that the kind of uncertainty and the very poor macro conditions are probably going to last quite a long time, right? And so if we have that as a base case, then what this is saying is you're in a great buy zone here, but potentially it could be a great buy zone for the next 6 months. It really depends on your time horizon. If you're a long-term investor with like a 5-year time horizon, or you're looking to get long into the next cycle, which is the 2024 halving, then this is telling us, hey, this is it. I think that's fairly obvious at this point, right? With a 75% drawdown, it's not it's not like mega brain stuff to say, hey, this is probably a buy zone for long-term investors. But it's good to see that what we're seeing here is like the biggest buy signal, even from these as well. But we can be in it for a much longer time. We've actually just kind of capitulated into it at this time, but we can last here for a lot longer. So again, this is not a trading analysis. It's more like a long-term investor analysis with some very long-term data points. Long-term holder supply is bullish according to ARK Invest. You can see the data here. I think this is just not bullish or bearish, but it's just a sign of where we are in the market cycle. So as you can see here with long-term holder supply, it's kind of at a very long-term high level right here. Now, according to ARK, they feel like this is bullish because it shows long-term conviction. Long-term holder supply is 72% of Bitcoin's total circulating supply. For me, it just shows that we're in a extremely bad time of the market. Now, as you can see, during bull markets, long-term holders get crowded out by short-term speculators. So if you have a long-term mindset, really what you're doing is when you're seeing this long-term holder supply come down, that is essentially time to start lightening up your bags into rising prices. So you want to be selling all of your Bitcoin to the short-term speculators during the top end of a bull market. And then during the bottom end of a bear market right here, that's when you want to start accumulating for the next time. Long-term investors would do this, but again, this is probably a 2 to 5 year type of investment strategy, taking risk in the bear market. Very difficult to do because a bear market comes about because less money is flowing about for investors. That's the whole point. That's why it's so difficult to actually take risk in bear markets. But if you are a long-term investor, you can see it's very clear here that you want to be selling at this time and buying at this time, again with multiple month or multiple year time horizons. And of course, the price can fluctuate greatly during this time, but that's when large upward moves are possible as well. So this is just a sign of the times that essentially all the speculators are out, and what you're seeing actually, the latest dump was actually miners selling, but long-term holders picking up Bitcoin at this time. During the FTX blow up as well, we saw more Bitcoin coming off exchanges than ever before. Again, this isn't really bullish in my opinion, but it just shows us what a capitulation event is. And, probably long-term investors probably picked up some here as well. So Bitcoin coming off exchanges for me isn't really that bullish. It's actually great news, because that's what Bitcoin and crypto is invented for you to take custody of your assets so that no one can take them away from you. Someone who is a criminal or the government by saying, hey, we're bust and we're going to take your bank reserves away, which actually does happen. That's why Bitcoin was invented. And people are using Bitcoin for what it's meant for right here. But that doesn't tell me that we're in a great position in the market, right? We are in a really bad position. When people are taking their Bitcoin off exchanges, it means that the market is drying up. It's not bullish, right? It's not bullish market. It's not a well-functioning market. However, again, showing huge bottom signals, right? Where people are just saying everything out, everything off exchanges. The market is going through this absolutely terrible time, but these are the best times to invest, right? Because you get the lowest prices. So again, ARK's view is neutral here. A bit like me, flight to self-custody is okay. But what you really want to be seeing is a very healthy market where people are, putting Bitcoin on exchanges and selling into rising prices. So again, if you're a long-term investor, these are the best times to pick up. I know it's taking risk in uncertain markets, but each and every time beforehand, this has been the time where people would have made the most money. But again, you can't predict prices and where it can go. On-chain can only give you areas, and they can be way out in terms of the price. I mean, they can be 50, 60% out in terms of, where the price is now to where it may bottom, but you're just seeing bottom signals everywhere, or at least bottom areas from the on-chain data. We also have Bitcoin hash rate data here, which ARK Invest analyzes bearish. I actually kind of disagree here. I think it's fairly bullish over the short term. We can see that when the hash rate comes off, it tends to mark a capitulation bottom for miners. So what we saw during the FTX explosion is it was about 25% sell-off right here. Now, what happened if you look at the on-chain data is that most of the sellers during this time were Bitcoin miners. So miners completely capitulated. They were done, right? They're done and dusted, and they kind of dumped all of their Bitcoin. But the people that accumulated at this level were holders with under 1 BTC. So what we were looking at is essentially Bitcoin miners and institutions capitulating into a diversified kind of small hodler base. Now, what we can see here from other periods of miner capitulation and Hahsrate capitulation is it tends to coincide with what I would consider as some kind of huge cataclysmic sell-off or capitulation, right, in the price. And so this was the China one where China banned it. So maybe an outlier here, but we're seeing that again, right? This capitulation, and then actually a kind of consolidation here again, and a capitulation right here. So what I'm seeing is, again, more bottom signals, right? A bottom signal for capitulation in the network and prices, with usually what happens is maybe a bottom signal. So again, if you're a long-term investor, you're just seeing all of this data that's showing you that, each and every time all of this stuff has happened before, it's been a great area to take longs for a long-term investment. But obviously the macro is going to really dictate where we go as well, medium term. With the macro situation, it really depends on what central banks want to do and when they want to flip dovish again. We're seeing most markets completely obliterated, housing markets coming off, stock market, bonds have been obliterated. It's all gone to pot. And central banks, when are they going to flip, right? When are they actually going to flip to turn bullish? And how bad is the recession going to be in that time? Very unpredictable. And so it depends what type of investor that you are as to when and where you want to invest. Do you just want a dollar cost average during this time? Or do you want to wait and for times to get a little bit better, for Bitcoin and crypto to probably be 30 to 50% up from here, but to be more confident that you're buying into rising prices? Everyone's different in terms of how they want to get exposure to the market and when. If you are an investor, get the deposit bonus on BitGet and the 0 spot commission as well via that link in the description. I'm James with MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.